So today we're sponsored by the Nectar of Sri Krishna Sankirtanamrita, the new book by His Grace Vṛndāvana-3 Prabhu. It's come out at an introductory price of 250 rupees only. It'll go up after this week, but it just came just yesterday. And I've read the book, and it's everything I had to say about it is on the front cover. I said, I love this book. I couldn't put it down. It's easy to carry if you're traveling. It's nice and light. It's done by the North European BBT, so it's first-class printing in all ways. And Vṛndāvana-3, if you don't know, is one of the premier book distributors of the Krishna consciousness movement in the modern era. And he has deep realizations that you can take with you in your life, and by which you can improve your sadhana. What to speak of your book distribution? You can learn from the best just by reading this book. I recommend it. I endorse it. And please buy at least 2 copies. Give one to a friend. Do them a favor. And if you'd like to buy larger quantities, cases, or air containers, we can arrange it. They're printed and ready to go. Again, I'm endorsing the book Sankirtanamrita, the Nectar of Sri Krishna Sankirtan by Vṛndāvana-3 Prabhu. Get your copy. You'll never regret it. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Sold. We're continuing our reading of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, which we also have available. If you need a set at home, just text us during the program. We'll have a set sent to you. We have from the low price of $120 going on now on sale as we're reading. That includes shipping. Anything else anybody wants to sell? Thanks for joining us. We're reading from the Madhya Lila, chapter 17, the Lord's travels to Vṛndāvan, and we've made it up to text 128. Why could Prakashananda not utter the holy names Krishna and Hari? He chanted the name Chaitanya thrice. As far as I'm concerned, simply by seeing you, I am moved to chant the holy names Krishna and Hari. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, the Mayavadi impersonalists are great offenders unto Lord Krishna. Therefore, they simply utter the words Brahman, Atma, and Chaitanya. Because they are offenders unto Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is identical with His holy name, the holy name Krishna does not manifest in their mouths. The Lord's holy name, His form, and His personality are all one and the same. There is no difference between them. Since all of them are absolute, they are all transcendental and blissful. There is no difference between Krishna's body and Himself, or between His name and Himself. But as far as the conditioned soul is concerned, one's name is different from one's body, from one's original form, and so on. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is herein pointing out to the Brahmana that Mayavadi philosophers cannot understand that the living entity is equal in quality with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because they do not accept this, they think that the living entity has been falsely divided from the original Brahman due to being conditioned by Maya. Mayavadis believe that the Absolute Truth is ultimately impersonal. When an incarnation of God, or God Himself comes, they think He is covered by Maya. In other words, Mayavadi impersonalists think that the Lord's form is also a product of this material world. Due to a poor fund of knowledge, they cannot understand that Krishna has no body separate from Himself. His body and Himself are both the same absolute truth. Not having perfect knowledge of Krishna, such impersonalists certainly commit offenses at His lotus feet. Therefore, they do not utter Krishna, the original name of the Absolute Truth. In their impersonal way, they utter the name of impersonal Brahman, spirit soul. In other words, they indulge in indirect indications of the Absolute Truth. Even if they happen to utter the names Govinda, Krishna, or Madhava, they still cannot understand that these names are as good as Govinda, Krishna, or Madhava, the person. Because they are ultimately impersonalists, their uttering of the personal name has no potency. Actually, they do not believe in Krishna, but consider all these names to be material vibrations. Not being able to appreciate the holy name of the Lord, they simply utter indirect names like Brahman, Atma, and Chaitanya. It is a fact, however, that the name of Krishna and Krishna, the person, are both spiritual. Everything about Krishna is transcendental, blissful, and objective. For a conditioned soul, the body is different from the soul, and the name given by the Father is also different from the soul. The conditioned living entity's identification with material objects keeps him from attaining his actual position. Although he is an eternal servant of Krishna, he acts differently. The swarup, or actual identification of the living entity, is described by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Jivera Swarup Hai Krishnara Nityadas. The conditioned soul has forgotten the real activities of his original position. However, this is not the case with Krishna. Krishna's name and his person are identical. There is no such thing as Maya Krishna, because Krishna is not a product of the material creation. There's no difference between Krishna's body and his soul. Krishna is simultaneously both soul and body. The distinction between body and soul applies to conditioned souls. The body of the conditioned soul is different from the soul, and the conditioned soul's name is different from his body. One may be named Mr. John, but if we call for Mr. John may never actually appear. However, if we utter the holy name of Krishna, Krishna is immediately present on our tongue. In the Padma Purana, Krishna says, Yatra gayanti madbhakta tatra tishtami narada. O Narada, I am present wherever my devotees are chanting. When the devotees chant the holy name of Krishna, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Lord Krishna is immediately present. Namachintamani Krishnas Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddho Nitya Mukto Binatvam Namanamino. The holy name of Krishna is transcendentally blissful. It bestows all spiritual benedictions. For it is Krishna himself, the reservoir of all pleasure. Krishna's name is complete, and it is the form of all transcendental mellows. It is not a material name under any condition. It is no less powerful than Krishna himself. Since Krishna's name is not contaminated by the material qualities, there is no question of its being involved with Maya. Krishna's name is always liberated and spiritual. It is never conditioned by the laws of material nature. This is because the name of Krishna and Krishna himself are identical. That's from the Padma Purana, text 134. The holy name of Krishna, his body and his pastimes cannot be understood by the blunt material senses. They are manifested independently. Since Krishna's transcendental body, name, form, qualities, pastimes, and entourage are all the absolute truth, they are as good as Krishna himself, Sakchit Ananda Vigraha. As long as the living entity is conditioned by the three modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the objects of his material senses, material form, taste, smell, sound, and touch, will not help him understand spiritual knowledge and bliss. Rather, these are revealed to the pure devotee. One's material name, form, and qualities are certainly different from one another. In the material world, there is no conception of absolute. However, when we come to Krishna consciousness, we find that there is no material difference between Krishna's body and his names, activities, and entourage. Krishna's holy name, transcendental qualities, and transcendental pastimes are all equal to Lord Krishna himself. They are all spiritual and full of bliss. Atashi Krishna namadi namabhed grayam indrayai sevamuhi jivado swayam eva sparatyada. Therefore, material senses cannot appreciate Krishna's holy name, form, qualities, and pastimes. When a conditioned soul is awakened to Krishna consciousness and renders service by using his tongue to chant the Lord's holy name and taste the remnants of the Lord's food, the tongue is purified and one gradually comes to understand who Krishna really is. Purport: this verse is recorded in a Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. The mellows of Lord Krishna's pastimes, which are full of bliss, attract the jnani from the pleasure of Brahman realization and conquer him. Purport: when one understands that he belongs not to the material world, but to the spiritual world, one is called liberated. Being situated in the spiritual world is certainly pleasurable. But those who realize the transcendental name, form, qualities, and pastimes of Lord Krishna enjoy transcendental bliss many times more than one who has simply realized the self. When one is situated on the platform of self-realization, he can certainly be easily attracted by Krishna and become a servant of the Lord. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita 1854. Brahma bhuta prasannatma nashochati nakangshati samak sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labate param. One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments nor desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In that state he attains pure devotional service to me. When one becomes spiritually realized, Brahma Bhuta, he becomes happy, prasannatma, for he is relieved from material conceptions. One who has attained this platform is not agitated by material action. One who has attained this platform is not agitated by material action and reaction. He sees everyone on the platform of spirit soul, pandita samadarshina. When one is completely realized, he can rise to the platform of pure devotional service, madbhaktim labate param. When one comes to the platform of bhakti, devotional service, he automatically realizes who Krishna is. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 1855, Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavan yashchasmi tattvataha tatomam tattvato gyatva vishite taranantaram. One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. It is only on the bhakti platform that one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and his transcendental name, form, qualities, pastimes, and entourage. Being thus qualified spiritually, one is allowed to enter the spiritual kingdom of God and return home back to Godhead. Vishite taranantaram. Let me offer my respectful obeisances under my spiritual master, the son of Vyasadeva, Shukadeva Goswami. It is he who defeats all inauspicious things within this universe. Although in the beginning he was absorbed in the happiness of Brahman realization and was living in a secluded place, giving up all other types of consciousness, he became attracted by the most melodious pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna. He therefore mercifully spoke the supreme Purana known as Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the bright light of the absolute truth, and which describes the activities of Lord Krishna. This verse was spoken by Sutta Goswami in Srimad Bhagavatam 12:12-69. The transcendental qualities of Sri Krishna are completely blissful and relishable. Consequently, Lord Krishna's qualities attract even the minds of self-realized persons from the bliss of self-realization. Atma Ramascha Munayo Nigranta Apyarukrame Kurvantya Haitu Kim Bhaktim Itam Bhuta Guno Hari. Those who are self-satisfied and unattracted by external material desires are also attracted to the loving service of Sri Krishna, whose qualities are transcendental and whose activities are wonderful. Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is called Krishna because he has such transcendentally attractive features. Apart from the pastimes of Lord Krishna, when tulsi leaves are offered at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, even the aroma of the leaves attracts the minds of self-realized persons. Tasyaravinda nayanasya padaravinda kinjalka mishra tulasi makaranda vayu antargatasva vivarena chakaratesham Sanshobhamaksharajusham apichitta tanvo. When the breeze carrying the aroma of tulsi leaves and saffron from the lotus feet of the lotus-eyed personality of Godhead entered through the nostrils into the hearts of those sages, the Kumaras, they experienced a change in both body and mind. Even though they were attached to the impersonal Brahman understanding. This is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 3:15-43. Vidura and Maitreya discussed the pregnancy of Diti. Diti's pregnancy caused the demigods to be very much afraid, and the demigods went to see Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma explained the original incident involving the cursing of Giant Vijay by the Chatushana Kumaras. Once the Chatushana Kumaras went to Vaikuntha to visit Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they were stopped from entering the palace at the 7th gate by 2 doorkeepers named Jai and Vijay. Due to their jealousy, Jai and Vijay would not allow the Kumaras entry, and consequently the Kumaras became angry and cursed Jai and Vijay, condemning them to take birth in a family of asuras in the material world. The omniscient Personality of Godhead could immediately understand the incident, and he came with his eternal consort, the goddess of fortune. The Chatusana Kumaras immediately offered their obeisances unto the Lord. Simply by seeing the Lord and smelling the aroma of tulsi and saffron from his lotus feet, the Kumaras became devotees and abandoned their long-cherished impersonalism. Thus the 4 Kumaras were turned into Vaishnavas simply by smelling the aromatic tulsi mixed with saffron. Those who are actually on the platform of Brahman realization and who have not offended the lotus feet of Krishna can immediately become Vaishnavas simply by smelling the aroma of the Lord's lotus feet. But those who are offenders or demons are never attracted to the Lord's personal feature, even though they may visit the Lord's temple many times. In Vṛndāvana, we have seen many Mayavadi sannyasis who do not even come to the temple of Govindaji, Gopinath, or Madan Mohan because they think that such temples are Maya. Therefore, they are called Mayavadis. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore said that Mayavadis are the greatest offenders. Because the Mayavadis are great offenders and atheistic philosophers, the holy name of Krishna does not come from their mouths. Purport: because they are constantly blaspheming the Supreme Personality of Godhead by saying that he has no head, hands, or legs, Mayavadi philosophers remain offenders for many, many births, even though they have partially realized Brahman. However, if such impersonalists are not offenders at the lotus feet of the Lord, they immediately become devotees in the association of a devotee. In other words, if an impersonalist is not an offender, he can become a devotee if he gets a chance to associate with another devotee. If he is an offender, he cannot be converted even by the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very much afraid of this Mayavadi offender. Therefore he spoke as follows: I have come here to sell my emotional, ecstatic sentiments in this city of Kashi, but I cannot find any customers. If they are not sold, I must take them back home. I have brought a heavy load to sell in this city. To take it back again is a very difficult job. Therefore, if I can get but a fraction of the price, I shall sell it here in the city of Kashi. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was selling the transcendental holy name of the Lord, but Kashi was a city of Mayavadis, impersonalists, and such people will never chant the holy names of the Hare Kṛṣṇa Mantra. Consequently, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was feeling disappointed. How could he teach the Mayavadis the importance of chanting the Hare Kṛṣṇa Mantra? The attraction for chanting the holy name of the Lord belongs absolutely to pure devotees, and there was no possibility of finding pure devotees at Kashi. Consequently, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's commodity was certainly very heavy. The Lord therefore suggested that even though there were no pure devotees in Kashi, if someone was a little inclined to chant the Hare Kṛṣṇa Maha Mantra, he would deliver this big load, although the proper price was not paid. Actually, we experienced this when we came to preach the Hare Kṛṣṇa movement in the West. When we came to New York in 1965, we never expected that the Hare Kṛṣṇa Maha Mantra would be accepted in this country. Nonetheless, we invited people to our storefront to join in chanting the Hare Kṛṣṇa mantra, and the Lord's holy name is so attractive that simply by coming to our storefront in New York, fortunate young people became Krishna conscious. Although this mission was started with insignificant capital, it is now going nicely. The spreading of the Hare Kṛṣṇa Maha Mantra in the West has become successful because the young people were not offenders. The youths who joined this movement were not very advanced as far as purity is concerned, nor were they very well educated in Vedic knowledge, but because they were not offenders, they could accept the importance of the Hare Kṛṣṇa movement. We are now very happy to see that this movement is advancing more and more in the Western countries. We therefore conclude that the so-called Nachas and Yavanas of the Western countries are more purified than offensive Mayavadis or atheistic impersonalists. After saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted that Brahmana as his devotee. The next morning, rising early, the Lord started for Mathura. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started for Mathura, all three devotees, started to go with him, but the Lord forbade them to accompany him, and from a distance he asked them to return home. Feeling separation from the Lord, the three used to meet and glorify the holy qualities of the Lord. Thus they were absorbed in ecstatic love. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then went to Prayag, where he bathed at the confluence of the Ganges and the Jamuna. He then visited the temple of Vaini Madhava and chanted and danced there in ecstatic love. Purport: the city of Prayag is situated a few miles from the city of Allahabad. The name Prayag is given due to successful sacrifices performed there. It is said, Prakrishto yago yaga palam yasmat. If one performs sacrifices at Prayag, he certainly gets immediate results without difficulty. Prayag is also called Tirtharaj, the king of all places of pilgrimage. This holy place is situated on the confluence of the river Ganges and Jamuna. Every year a fair takes place there known as Magh Mela, and every 12 years a Kumbh Mela is also held. In any case, many people come to bathe there every year. During Magh Mela, people from the local district generally come, and during Kumbh Mela, people come from all over India to live there and bathe in the Ganges and Jamuna. Whoever goes there immediately feels the place's spiritual influence. A fort located there was constructed by the Emperor Akbar about 500 years ago, and near the fort is a place called Triveni. On the other side of Prayag is an old place known as Pratishthanapur. It is also well known as Jhansi. Many saintly people live there, and consequently it is very attractive from the spiritual point of view. As soon as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw the river Jamuna, he threw himself into it. Balabhadra Bhattacharya hastily caught the Lord and very carefully raised him up again. The Lord stayed at Prayag for 3 days. He delivered the holy name of Krishna in ecstatic love. Thus he delivered many people. Wherever the Lord stopped to rest on the way to Mathura, he delivered the holy name of Krishna and ecstatic love of Krishna. Thus he made people dance. When the Lord toured South India, he delivered many people, and when he traveled in the western sector, he similarly converted many people to Vaishnavism. Formerly, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu converted people when he toured southern and western India. Similarly, the Hare Kṛṣṇa movement is now delivering the people of the Western world wherever devotees are chanting the holy names. This is all being done by the Lord's mercy. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu predicted that he would deliver people in every city and village of the world by giving them a chance to chant the Hare Kṛṣṇa Maha Mantra. We'll take a few reflections or questions. 3, 2, 1. Mahendra Prabhu. Sharing means caring.
What would be the price, the proper price about which Mahaprabhu is talking?
What's the proper price? Shraddha Banjan He, Shraddha Banjan He. Prabhu Agnai Bhai Magiye Bika. Although we're asking, all we're begging is a little faith. Shraddha Banjan He. That's in that bhajan of, that's a different one, but in Kodanitai, Kodanitai. That bhajan is such a powerful song by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, but he talked there about how he developed some, Nityananda Prabhu starts a marketplace, sell the holy name. People will come, they'll bring other people who have faith, and then they collect a commission themselves from bringing people. And Lord Nityananda there is selling the holy name just for the price of one's faith.
And the commission?
And the commission, what is the commission? Some special mercy. Reflections, questions, complaints about the world itself. Yes, we have some.
Hare Krishna, I have a question on verse text 132. In Prabhupada's purport, it says there that the holy name, it is not a material name under any condition, and it is no less powerful than Krishna himself. Since Krishna's name is not contaminated by material qualities, there is no question of its being involved with Maya. Sometimes devotees say that we can hear even from non-devotees because Krishna's name is very powerful. How do we answer that question?
You can answer it with a verse that Sanatana Goswami promoted. Avaishnava mukungirnam putam harikatam ritam shavana naivakartavyam sarpochista yatapaya. That one should not hear the holy name from those who are avaishnava, because it's like milk touched by the lips of a serpent. And therefore, the people who say that haven't heard that verse yet. So, the sound carries consciousness. If you associate with people who are Mayavadis, as is explained by Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the Harinam Chintamani, the real offense to the holy name is Mayavad. And if somebody has that conception, that, as we just heard, cut off the Lord's legs, hands, and make him nothing. That's the meaning of a Mayavad, that the Lord doesn't have a personal existence. If one chants thinking that I'm going to merge, then it's a very different vibration than a pure devotee chanting through the disciplic succession. Why and how that takes place is explained in the 87th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And it's a question asked in a different way by Parikshit Maharaj to Shukadeva Goswami when he says, how is it possible at all that Chintamani, something that's completely transcendental, can be transmitted through a material medium? And the answer is that the source of that medium is Krishna. And Krishna's abhigna and surat. He's fully conscious, he's fully independent, he's fully in control of his energies. And therefore, when somebody sincerely chants the holy name of the Lord, intending to please the Lord or to follow in the footsteps of the acharyas, then Krishna allows that person to commune with the holy name, because he controls all the energies, and therefore the holy name can be transmitted to such a person. One may say, well, how's that even possible at all? But the very definition of Krishna or God is that he's infinite and we're infinitesimal. And therefore, logically, the infinite reserves the right to reveal himself to the infinitesimal. If you say he can't do that, then you're not talking about the infinite. He's infinitely powerful, he can reveal himself to the infinitesimal souls. Therefore, intention matters. It always matters. If you go to court, it's the only thing they want to know. Did you mean to do this? Or was it an accident? And each side tries to prove that, one side and the defense tries to prove, no, it was not intentional. The guy was crazy. He didn't know what he was doing. Or it was an accident. He was cleaning his bow and arrow and it went off. Shot through the window and killed the guy next door. He didn't mean to do it. If you can prove that, then they'll let you go with a little probation. But if you meant to do it, if they find on your Amazon account you bought duct tape and you were following the person around for a week, then they deduce that you meant to do it, and because of your intention, it's a very different reaction. So similarly, when you chant, the intention is all important. And Krishna, who's regulating all his energies, allows the holy name to come through for those who are sincere. If somebody's a Mayavadi, the vibration is distorted, says Bhaktivinoda Thakur. You're not getting the holy name, you're getting something else. So that simplistic argument that people are telling you has nothing to do with the clear instructions given by Srimad Bhagavatam, by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, etc. Besides that, if you go and hear from people who are not devotees and they're chanting Hare Kṛṣṇa, you're going to hang out with them. You're going to eat their food, you're going to hear what they have to say, and the whole experience itself will be a source of contamination. Om Tat Sat. Final answer. Any other thing? Or rebuttal? Or rejoinder? Nothing from the outside People's Party? Yes, please. That's Namajintamani.
Yes,
the
Guru
verses
Maharaj.
mentioned your name there a minute ago.
Yes. A follow-up question to Vaishnavi's question. How do you know who is an Vaishnava? How do we define an Vaishnava? Because we heard earlier that one who chants Krishna's name can also be is considered a Vaishnava.
You just look on their website. Check their Facebook page. If you start seeing weird stuff there, that who they're associating with and who they exalt as their guru and their line, then you can see they're not following the six Goswamis, or they don't have a bona fide sampradaya. Then they have some concocted idea. It doesn't mean that they can't become devotees. A lot of people, most people from that era, 60s and 70s, had some kind of connection with Mayavad, because that's all there was until Prabhupada came.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. We have a few more reflections here.
Okay.
Hare Kṛṣṇa Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
I was just curious, because in one of the purports there, Prabhupada was talking about Mayavadis, how if they get the association of a devotee, they can become devotees very quickly. So that's how do we see that? Because devotees don't necessarily want to associate with the Mayavadis, but in order to become devotees, they need the association of devotees.
Well, we don't go to them, they come to us. Except in the case of Lord Chaitanya, he knew what he was doing when he went to Prakashananda Saraswati. He was very expert at preaching. But as far as our general overall approach is, we hold open class. Everybody can come, and everyone can chant, and everyone can take prasadam. And people, generally, even though we hear about Mayavad, most people don't know what it is. They just have insufficient knowledge about God, so they accept what people say, that we're all one, or God is a void. They're not that dedicated to the philosophy, because most people don't have any philosophy at all. And most Mayavadis don't preach Shankaracharya Mayavad school philosophy. It's a little too detailed for people. And when people come to a Hare Kṛṣṇa program, they're mostly attracted to is the environment. There's chanting, dancing, and feasting, and then the holy name. When the holy name, as Prabhupada's pointing out here, is chanted, or I should say, when the devotees chant the holy name of the Lord with purity, then it has a very powerful effect on people. And Chaito Darpana Marjanam, they get purified. And then they start inquiring more, and they read the Bhagavad Gita as it is. And from that, it's an eye-opener for them. They say, oh my God, God's a person. And then they appreciate a particular devotee or two, and they start asking questions, and they come for more classes. And then you see one day they're sitting there with a different kind of look on their face. Like, I want to be part of this. So that's the general, as you know better than me, you've seen it a million times, that people come and they get absorbed in the pageantry, the celebration of the holy name and the prasadam and everything like that. Then they hear a little philosophy. And if they read Prabhupada's books and do that, then those who were affected by, they were held back because of having insufficient knowledge, or they had misinformation, they start to get clarity. And then they want to become devotees. And in the case with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to assist his devotees who were there, he went personally into the den of the Mayavadis. It's one of the most telling and instructive sections of the Chaitanya Charitamrita about how to preach. Because when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes to Prakashananda Saraswati, spoiler alert, he goes in a humble state of mind and sits down in a lowly place, and then Prakashananda gives him a hand to sit up in a higher place. And Prabhupada writes in his purport there that people are already inimical, we shouldn't make them more inimical. We should be really humble. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed that by his example. And then he astounded them by talking about the Vedanta Sutra, much like he did with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Anyway, isn't that your experience? People come and they have some of that burfi from New Govardhana, and they go home thinking, like, I think I'll go back next week.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
right?
Definitely. It's, yeah, like you said, most people don't really know the Mayavad philosophy. They just kind of hear a few things, especially in the New Age world, and they just go along with that.
Yeah, we had a Western type program just right before we left, and there was a young woman there, and she said, well, in Bhakti, you can chant anything, right? Like, once you get to Bhakti, it doesn't matter what you do, if you chant or don't chant, or if the mantra, you don't have to do the Hare Kṛṣṇa mantra. You can do any mantra. You can make up your own mantra, right? She said that with all sincerity, because that's what she had been led to believe, that Bhakti just means anything goes. There's no real process. And that so when I gave her hopefully a reasonable explanation, she was open for it and said, oh, okay. But most people just don't know, so they require a little bit of guidance. There was one other question back there, or point? Okay, yes, please go ahead. Akshina Mangalam.
Hare Kṛṣṇa Guru Maharaj, in text 132 purport, like Prabhupada quoted from the Padma Purana, Yatra Gayanti Madbhakta Tatra Tishtami Narada. O Narada, I am present wherever my devotees are chanting. And also in the 142 purport, Kumaras, those who are actually on the platform of Brahman realization and who have not offended the lotus feet of Krishna, can immediately become Vaishnavas simply by smelling the aroma of the Lord's lotus feet. But those who are offenders or demons are never attracted to the Lord's personal feature, even though they may visit the Lord's temple many times. Like in this regard, my question is, we are trying our best. We are doing regularly chanting 16 rounds, devotional service, deity worship, whatever the little service we can do, we are doing. So is it because of our offenses or because of lack of sincerity, the progress that I am expecting, I am not able to see, or anything else? I need your guidance, Guru Maharaj.
Well, what progress were you expecting?
More attraction to holy name, more attraction to Krishna, more attraction to service.
Why'd you come here to Govardhana Hill if you're not attracted to Krishna? You've been sitting here for 2 weeks just fully absorbed in hearing, and then I watch you in the temple room. You're sitting up straight, chanting Hare Krishna, dancing in front of Tulsi Devi, going to Mangalartik. Somebody might dispute the fact that you don't have attraction. But I understand, and I heard a lecture by Prabhupada. I turn it on as soon as I wake up, and he was talking about how we have to be patient and how in due course of time everything will manifest. He said just like a child doesn't know what amorous relationships are. They have no idea. But when they mature, then they know all about it. They don't have to tell them. It just becomes everyone knows at a certain age. They're like, okay, they're gone. And he probably said in a similar way, there will be an awakening of this natural attraction we have for Krishna. And it takes the time it takes, but you don't worry about it because, as Prabhupada writes in the light of the Bhagavad, it'll come of its own force. And he gives an example. Actually, Krishna gives the example. He said in the autumn season there's mating, and when the female's pregnant, it's going to give birth. And anybody say, yeah, it's 2 months in, I want the baby now. It's like, why don't you wait like 7 more months? And so Prabhupada said, it comes of its own force, and even if you don't want it, it's going to come anyway. Just like the baby's going to come out. You just change your mind. It's like, I don't want a baby now. It's too bad, baby's on its way. And the same way, he said, with devotional service, you start the process, and he said it'll come of its own force, even if you don't want it. So, expectation is the mother of disappointment. If we can be appreciative of what we have in every moment, instead of being expectant of one thing or another, right now we can appreciate everything. It's possible to appreciate everything. Veritably, we live in the middle of an ocean of miracles. The very fact that we're alive, we can perceive things, we can use our tongue to chant Hare Krishna. I saw a little chipmunk this morning when I was walking out on the driveway, and there was one of those little berries had fallen down from the tree and got smashed on the ground, and he was down there licking it with his tongue, and I could see his tongue, and I thought, chipmunk tongue. It's pretty small, but he's getting a taste from that little berry gook on the ground. And I was thinking, like, I'm glad I don't have a chipmunk tongue, because all I could do is taste a nut or a berry. But I can chant Hare Krishna. That's a miracle. Something that Vṛndāvana-3 points out, there's all kinds of tongues in the world, but human tongue's the only one who can chant Hare Krishna. So if we just start where we are, Krishna says that Sve Sve Adhikaryanishta Saguna Parikirtita. Appreciate what you have right now, don't worry about the future. And progress will come in due course of time. Without prolonging my diatribe, I'll just leave it there. And let's see, anybody from the Inside People's Party? Oh my God. Okay, go ahead.
Guru Maharaj, I think so. In the, I don't know, once you told that story of some Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Thakur's disciple who was having some Mayavadi influence, and then he come regularly and heard from him, and
that was Ilvio Pakor himself. He was one of Prabhupada's godbrothers. He told how he was a Pakka Mayavadi and how he had been recruited by some of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's disciples because he was really smart, highly educated, came from a really good family. But he was a Pakka Mayavadi. So they asked if he could come and meet the disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. Said, we found somebody, he's really good, only one thing, he's a Mayavadi. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta agreed to meet him, and he met him, and he said that Srila Bhakti came in, sat down, and he only talked about Vrajalila. And they got up and walked out. And then Kapoor started coming to his classes. And he had a lot of questions, and he raised his hand, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta never called on him. And it went on for 6 months. And he said after 6 months, he was in a situation where he was having a debate with somebody and realized that he had taken the side of the Vaishnavas and that he was competent to defeat the Mayavadis, the Mayavadi he was talking to. And he realized his transformation. He became a devotee. He's kind of famous in the Gaudiya Math. He wrote many, many books. And Prabhupada mentioned him many times too. Okay, a couple more and then we keep going. Yes?
Hare Krishna. We saw a couple different definitions of who a Vaishnava is, different levels of Vaishnavas over the last couple of days of our reading. We also see in the Vidishamrita it's described that there are different levels of people, how you might want to offer obeisances to them, something along those lines. At the same time, we see in Shikshashtakam it says, Amanina Manadena, that we should give respect to all, not expect respect in return. So in what scenarios or to what extent should we really be worrying about who is a Vaishnava or what type of Vaishnava there are?
For the Madhyama Adhikari, there's 4 categories that we're enjoined to note. First is Krishna, that we should know what Vishnu Tattva is, that he's the absolute truth. And all Vishnu Tattva expansions are all in that topmost category. And for Krishna, we should develop love. Then we should see what a devotee is. And for devotees, we should develop maitri, or appropriate friendships. Then we're supposed to see those who are bali sheshu. Well, that's the plural of bali, which means people who are childlike, in as much as they're innocent. They don't hate God, they're open. For them, kripa, we're supposed to give as much mercy as possible. And then for the dvisatsu, those who are averse, they're against Hare Krishna. And they want you to stop. And they would persecute you if they could. For them, we're supposed to be upeksha, or indifferent. We don't engage them. But then Jiva Goswami says in that commentary, which you can read for yourself, he says that when we do avoid the envious, we should pray for them and think that I pray that Krishna can transform their heart, or that I can become so expert that I could transform their heart. So that's how we interact with the 4 different categories. Okay? All right.
Just a quick example of modern successful preaching to Mayavadis. In Rishikesh, Indradyumna Swami has been holding the Kirtan festival every spring, and in that ashram they had never had a Westerner step foot in there, and they didn't even want to have us. But somehow he had convinced them to give us a chance. And over the month, I saw that they were at first just observing the kirtan, and then they started coming in and taking prasadam. And then a few of us got stuck there for the pandemic, and we'd have kirtan every night, and we'd see them watching us, and then the next day we'd walk by and they would like kind of mock us and dance. And then I could hear in their classes they were quoting Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam at times. By the end of the pandemic, a few months had gone by. And now they love having us back every year. Hundreds, if not thousands, of Westerners come and just chanting Hare Kṛṣṇa and taking prasadam every day. And I've heard now it's their favorite event of the whole year, and they look forward to having us come, this ashram of Mayavadi sannyasis.
Hare! Perfect. Okay, that's it, right? Ansh and then Vijay, and we're done.
Hare Kṛṣṇa Guru Maharaj. I really like this line you said, expectation is the mother of disappointment. So personally I want to ask how not to be expectant or how not to be attached to the results of our action.
Well, if you have gratitude for what you have right now, then you don't have to think so much about the future. Of course, that doesn't mean we don't have some goals, something to rise up and meet. But if you appreciate where you are, what you have at the moment, and feel gratitude for it, then you don't feel deficient. Gratitude by its very nature fills us up with a sense of, I have enough, I'm satisfied. And we can note that it's not how much you have, it's how much you appreciate what you have that counts, because lots of people have more than others and they're still dissatisfied and they expect more. If you spoil a child, then they're never happy because they grow up thinking that they deserve more, they're special. And it's not to say you don't love them, of course you do, and they are special. But if they get spoiled, that you just give them everything, then they expect more and more. And there's another related concept, which is entitlement. Expectation and entitlement could be cousins. And when we have a sense of entitlement, I deserve this, and I expect it, then we're never satisfied, no matter what we get, because it didn't come. We already think we deserve it, so if it comes, we can't be grateful for it. Because when you feel bereft and you're a kinchana gochara, which is the advice that Kunti gives, she says, Janmaishvarya Shruta Shribir, Edamana Madapuman, Naivarha Yavidatumbai, Twama Kinchana Gocharam. Namo Kinchana Vittaya, Nivrita Gunavrittaye, Atmaramaya Shantaye, Kaivalya Pataye Namaha. She said that put yourself in this mood of being a kinchana. That it's non-expectant. I don't deserve anything based on my beauty or my wealth or anything like that. Everything is new and everything is the mercy of the Lord. It's one of the meanings of a kinchana. So that's a cultivation Kunti recommends. And she says that Krishna is the property of the materially impoverished. Impoverished means that we don't have any stake in the world at all. No expectation for something in this world. The only expectation is for a little khichdi and some pickle. And maybe every once in a while a papadum and some service. And a place to lie down, a little mat you can lie down on. An association, and if that's all you want, then you're unlimitedly happy, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Om Tat Sat. Okay, for the close we have Vijay, and there will be no more after that.
Such a nice pastime. You mentioned Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Dr. Kapoor. I never heard that before.
He said it himself.
Wow.
Dr. Kapoor.
Nice. Another nice pastime with him and Prabhupada. Prabhupada had this pharmacy there in Allahabad, and Dr. Kapoor, he was a good friend, so one time he went to him and said, "Can you give me the tonic by which I can get the love for Krishna that you have?" And Prabhupada said, "No, I don't have that, but I do have the formula. Chanadapi sunichana turarapi sahistana manina manina kirtaniya sadahari." Another nice little pastime with Dr. Kapoor.
Hare, Hare. Can you hear a little more? Everybody, you ready?
Yes.
Okay, we'll hear a little more and then we'll take a little break. We're taking up where we left off at 154. While the Lord was going to Mathura, he came across the river Jamuna several times, and as soon as he saw the river Jamuna, he would immediately jump in, falling unconscious in the water in the ecstasy of love of Krishna. When he approached Mathura and saw the city, he immediately fell to the ground and offered obeisances with great ecstatic love. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entered the city of Mathura, he took his bath at Vishrama Ghat. He then visited the birthplace of Krishna and saw the deity named Keshavaji. He offered his respectful obeisances to this deity. At the present moment, the temple of Keshavaji is very much improved. At one time, Keshavaji Mandir was attacked by the Emperor Aurangzeb, who constructed such a big mosque there that the temple of Keshavaji was insignificant in comparison. But with the help of many rich Marwadis, the temple has become improved. And a very large temple is now being constructed so that the mosque is now appearing diminished in comparison. Many archaeological discoveries have been made there, and many people from foreign countries are beginning to appreciate Krishna's birthplace. This Krishna consciousness movement is attracting many foreigners to the Keshavaji temple, and now they will also be attracted by the Krishna Balaram temple in Vṛndāvana. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chanted, danced, and made loud vibrations, all the people were astonished to see his ecstatic love. One Brahmana fell at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and then began to dance with him in ecstatic love. The two of them danced in ecstatic love and embraced each other. Raising their arms, they said, "Chant the holy names of Hare and Krishna." All the people then began to chant, "Hare, Hare," and there was a great uproar. The priest and Lord Keshava's service offered Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu a garland. When the people saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing and chanting, they were struck with wonder, and they all said, "Such transcendental love is never an ordinary thing." The people said, "Simply by seeing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, everyone is maddened with love of Krishna. Indeed, everyone is laughing, crying, dancing, chanting, and taking the holy name of Krishna. Certainly, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in all respects the incarnation of Lord Krishna. Now he has come to Mathura to deliver everyone." After this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took the Brahmana aside. Sitting in a solitary place, the Lord began to question him. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "You are an elderly Brahmin, you are sincere, and you are advanced in spiritual life. Where from have you gotten this transcendental opulence of ecstatic love for Krishna?" The Brahmana replied, "His Holiness Srila Madhavendra Puri came to the city of Mathura while he was on tour. While at Mathura, Sripad Madhavendra Puri visited my house and accepted me as a disciple. He even took lunch at my home. After installing the deity of Gopal, Srila Madhavendra Puri rendered him service. That very deity is still being worshipped at Govardhana Hill." As soon as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard about Madhavendra Puri's relationship with the Brahmana, he immediately offered obeisances at his feet. Becoming fearful, the Brahmin also immediately fell at the Lord's feet. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "You are on the platform of my spiritual master, and I am your disciple. Since you are my spiritual master, it is not befitting that you offer me obeisances." Upon hearing this, the Brahmana became afraid. He then said, "Why do you speak like this? You are a sannyasi. Upon seeing your ecstatic love, I can just imagine that you must have some relationship with Madhavendra Puri. This is my understanding. This kind of ecstatic love can be experienced only when one has a relationship with Madhavendra Puri. Without him, even a scent of such transcendental ecstatic love is impossible." Balabhadra Bhattacharya then explained the relationship between Madhavendra Puri and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. After hearing this, the Brahmana became very pleased and began to dance. The Brahmana then took Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to his home and out of his own free will began to serve the Lord in various ways. He asked Balabhadra Bhattacharya to cook Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lunch. At that time the Lord, smiling, spoke as follows. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Madhavendra Puri has already taken lunch at your place. Therefore you may cook and give me the food. That is my instruction." Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow, and whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. Bhagavad Gita 3:21. The Brahmana belonged to the Sanodiya Brahmana community, and a sannyasi does not accept food from such a Brahmana. Purport. In northwestern India, Vaishyas are divided into various subdivisions. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur points out that they are divided as Agarwala, Kalawara, and Sanwada. Out of them, the Agarwals are said to be first-class Vaishyas, and the Kalawaras and Sandwadas are considered lower due to their occupational degradation. The Kalawaras generally take wine and other intoxicants. Although they are Vaishyas, they are considered to belong to a lower class. The priests who guide the Kalawaras and the Sanwadas are called Sanodiya Brahmanas. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur states that the word Sanodyada in Bengal indicates Suvarnavanik. In Bengal there are priests who guide the Suvarnavanik community, which is also considered a low class. There is little difference between the Sanwadas and the Suvarnavaniks. Generally, the Suvarnavaniks are bankers dealing in gold and silver. In Western India, the Agarwalas also belong to the banking profession. This is the original business of the Suvarnavanik or Agarwal communities. Historically, the Agarwals came from the upcountry named Ayodhya, and the Suvarnavanik community also came from Ayodhya. It therefore appears that the Suvarnavaniks and the Agarwals belong to the same community. The Sanodiya Brahmanas were the guides of the Kalawaras and the Sanwadas. They are therefore considered to be lower class Brahmanas, and a sannyasi is not allowed to take alms or food from them. However, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted lunch cooked by a Sanodiya Brahmana simply because he belonged to the Madhavendra Puri's community. Srila Madhavendra Puri was the spiritual master of Ishvara Puri, who is the spiritual master of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Thus, a spiritual relationship is established on the spiritual platform without consideration of material inferiority or superiority. 180. Although the Brahmana belonged to the Sanodiya community, Srila Madhavendra Puri had seen that he behaved like a Vaishnava and had therefore accepted him as his disciple. The food he had cooked had also been accepted by Madhavendra Puri. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu willingly requested food from the Brahmana, and the Brahmana, feeling natural humility, began to speak as follows. It is a great fortune for me to offer you food. You are the Supreme Lord, and being in the transcendental position, you are not restricted in any way. Foolish people will blaspheme you, but I shall not tolerate the words of such mischievous people. Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur remarks that although the Brahmana did not belong to a superior community, he fearlessly chastised so-called caste brahmanas because he was situated on the platform of pure devotional service. There are people who are opposed to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's accepting a Vaishnava belonging to a lower caste. Such people do not consider Mahaprasadam transcendental, and therefore they are described here as murkha, foolish, and dushta, mischievous. A pure devotee has the power to challenge such high caste people, and his brave statements are not to be considered proud or puffed up. On the contrary, he is to be considered straightforward. Such a person does not like to flatter high-class brahmanas who belong to the non-Vaishnava community. 184. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, the Vedas, Puranas, and great learned sages are not always in agreement with one another. Consequently, there are different religious principles. Purport. Unless one comes to the absolute truth, there is no possibility of agreement. It is said that a great learned scholar or sage cannot be exalted unless he disagrees with other scholars and sages. On the material platform, there is no possibility of agreement. Therefore, there are different kinds of religious systems, but the absolute truth is one. And when one is situated in the absolute truth, there is no disagreement. On that absolute platform, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is worshipable. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktyamam Abhijanati Yavan Yashchasmi Tattvataha. On the absolute platform, the worshipable deity is one, and the process of worship is also one. That process is? It's bhakti. There are many different religions throughout the world because they are not all on the same absolute platform of devotional service, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. The word ekam means one, Krishna. On this platform there are no different religious systems. According to Srimad Bhagavatam, Dharma Protita Kaitavotra. On the material platform, religious systems are different. Srimad Bhagavatam describes them from the very beginning as Dharma Kaitava, cheating religions. None of these religions is actually genuine. The genuine religious system is that which enables one to become a lover of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the words of Srimad Bhagavatam 126, Savaipum sam parodharmo yato bhakti radhoksaje ahaitukya pratiyata yayatma suprasidati. The supreme occupation, dharma for all humanity, is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted in order to completely satisfy the self. On this platform, there is nothing but service to the Lord. When a person has no ulterior motive, there is certainly oneness and agreement of principles. Since everyone has a different body and mind, different types of religions are needed. But when one is situated on the spiritual platform, there are no bodily or mental differences. Consequently, on the absolute platform, there is oneness in religion. Vijay likes that a lot. Text 185. He's sitting over here enjoying. He just lives to hear. Sits there and enjoys, drinking nectar through his ears. A devotee's behavior establishes the true purpose of religious principles. The behavior of Madhavendra Puri Goswami is the essence of such religious principles. Okay, get ready. Ready for purport? Yes. Okay, here we go. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives the following commentary on this passage. A sadhu or honest man is called a Mahajan or Mahatma. The Mahatma is described thus by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita 9.13. Mahatmanas tu mam partha daivim prakritim ashrita vajantyananya manaso gyadva bhutadim avyayam. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. In the material world, the word Mahatma is understood in different ways by different religionists. Mundaners also come up with their different angles of vision. For the conditioned soul busy in sense gratification, a Mahajan is recognized according to the proportion of sense gratification he offers. For instance, a businessman may consider a certain banker to be a Mahajan, and karmis desiring material enjoyment may consider philosophers like Jaimini to be Mahajans. There are many yogis who want to control the senses, and for them Patanjali Rishi is a Mahajan. For the Gyanis, the atheist Kapila, Vashishta, Durvasa, Dattatreya, and other impersonalist philosophers are Mahajans. For the demons, Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, Ravana, Ravana's son, Meghanada, Jarasandha, and others are accepted as Mahajans. For materialistic anthropologists speculating on the evolution of the body, a person like Darwin is a Mahajan. The scientists who are bewildered by Krishna's external energy have no relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, yet they are accepted by some as Mahajans. Similarly, philosophers, historians, literary men, public speakers, and social and political leaders are sometimes accepted as Mahajans. Such Mahajans are respected by certain men who have been described in Srimad Bhagavatam. Shvavid Vadahoshta Karai Samstata Varashavashu Naya Karnak Patopeto Jato Namagadadra. Men who are like dogs, hogs, camels, and asses. Praise those men who never listen to the transcendental pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna, the deliverer from evils. Thus, on the material platform, animalistic leaders are worshipped by animals. Sometimes physicians, psychiatrists, and social workers try to mitigate bodily pain, distress, and fear, but they have no knowledge of spiritual identity and are bereft of a relationship with God. Yet they are considered Mahajans by the illusioned. Self-deceived persons sometimes accept leaders or spiritual masters from a priestly order that has been officially appointed by the codes of material life. In this way, they are deceived by official priests. Sometimes people accept as Mahajans those who have been designated by Srila Vṛndāvana-3 Thakur as Dhanga Vipras, impostor Brahmins. Such impostors imitate the characteristics of Srila Haridas Thakur, and they envy Haridas Thakur, who is certainly a Mahajan. They make great artificial endeavors, advertising themselves as great devotees of the Lord, or as mystic hypnotists, knowledgeable in witchcraft, hypnotism, and miracles. Sometimes people act as Mahajans, demons like Putana, except as Mahajans, demons like Putana, Trinavarta, Vatsa, Baka, Agasura, Denuka, Kaliya, and Pralamba. Some people accept imitators and adversaries of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, such as Pondraka, Shringala, Vasudeva, the spiritual master of the demons, Shukracharya, or atheists like Charvaka, King Vena, Sugata, and Arhat. People who accept such imitators as Mahajans have no faith in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rather, they accept godless cheaters who present themselves as incarnations of God and cheat foolish people within the material world by word jugglery. Thus, many rascals are accepted as Mahajanas. It is those who are devoid of devotional service who sometimes mistakenly accept persons with mundane motives as Mahajans. The only motive must be Krishna Bhakti, devotional service to the Lord. Sometimes fruitive workers, dry philosophers, non-devotees, mystic yogis, and persons attached to material opulence, women, and money are considered Mahajans. But Srimad Bhagavatam 6.2.25 gives the following statement about such unauthorized Mahajans. Prayena Veda Tadidam na Mahajan Prayena Veda Tadidam na Mahajano Yam Devya Vimohita Matir Bhatamaya Yalam Trayam Jadi Krita Matir Madhupushpatayam Vaikundet Mahatika Maniyujamana. In this material world, karmis, fruitive actors, are accepted as Mahajans by foolish people who do not know the value of devotional service. The mundane intelligence and mental speculative methods of such foolish people are under the control of the three modes of material nature. Consequently, they cannot understand unalloyed devotional service. They are attracted by material activities, and they become worshippers of material nature. Thus, they are known as fruitive actors. They even become entangled in material activities, disguised as spiritual activities. In the Bhagavad Gita, such people are described as Vṛndāvana-3, supposed followers of the Vedas. They do not understand the real purpose of the Vedas, yet they think of themselves as Vedic authorities. People versed in Vedic knowledge must know Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vedaishya sarver aham eva vedya. In this material world, a person may be famous as a karma vira, a successful fruitive worker, or he may be very successful in performing religious duties, or he may be known as a hero in mental speculation, jnana vira, or he may be a very famous renunciate. In any case, Srimad Bhagavatam 3:23-56 gives the following opinion in this matter. Neha yat karma dharmaya na viraghaya kalpate natirtha pada sevaya jivan api mrito hisa. Anyone whose work is not meant for elevating him to religious life, anyone whose religious ritualistic performance do not raise him to renunciation, and anyone situated in renunciation that does not lead him to devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead must be considered dead, although he is breathing. Yeah, I can tell. The conclusion is that all pious activities, fruitive activity, religious principles, and renunciation must ultimately lead to devotional service. There are different types of processes for rendering service. One may serve his country, people, or society, the varnashram dharma system, the sick, the poor, the rich, women, demigods, and so on. All this service comes under the heading of sense gratification or enjoyment in the material world. It is most unfortunate that people are more or less attracted by such material activity, and that the leaders of these activities are accepted as Mahajans, great ideal leaders. Actually, they are only misleaders, but an ordinary man cannot understand how he is being misled. Narottam Das Thakur says, Sadhu Shastra Guru Vakya Chite Te Kauriya Aikya. One should accept as one's guide the words of the sadhus, the Shastra, and the Guru. A sadhu is a great personality like Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Shastras are the injunctions of revealed scriptures, and the Guru or spiritual master is one who confirms the scriptural injunctions. Accepting the guidance of these three is the actual way of following the great personalities, the Mahajanas, for real advancement in life. Mahajano yena kata sapanta. A man covered by illusion cannot understand the proper way. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Dharma stapana hetu sadhura vyavahar. The behavior of a devotee is the criterion for all other behavior. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself followed the devotional principles and taught others to follow them. Puri Gosair Je Acharana She Dharmasar. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally followed the behavior of Madhavendra Puri and advised others to follow his principles. Unfortunately, people have been attracted to the material body since time immemorial. Yasya vavadhi kanipe tridatuke sadi kalatradi shubham ijadi yatirta buddhi salilena karichij janeshu abhikeshu saeva kokara. If a human being identifies this body made of three elements with the self, who considers the byproducts of the body to be his kinsman, who considers his land of birth worshipable, and who goes to a place of pilgrimage simply to take a bath rather than meet men of transcendental knowledge, there is to be considered like an ass or a cow. Those who accept the logic of Gadalika Pravaha and follow in the footsteps of pseudo-Mahajans are carried away by the waves of Maya. Bhaktivinoda Thakur therefore warns, Michar Maya Bhashe Jacho Beshe Kacho Habudu Budai Shiv Krishna Das E Bishwas Karleto Dukonai. Don't be carried away by the waves of Maya. Just surrender to the lotus feet of Krishna, and all miseries will end. Those who follow social customs and behavior forget to follow the path chalked out by the Mahajans. Thus they are offenders at the feet of the Mahajans. Sometimes they consider such Mahajans very conservative, or they create their own Mahajans. In this way they ignore the principles of the Parampara system. This is a great misfortune for everyone. If one does not follow in the footsteps of the real Mahajans, one's plans for happiness will be frustrated. This is elaborately explained later in the Madhya Lila. It is therefore stated, Parama Karuna Ishvara Keha Nahimani Swasva Matastape Para Matera Kandani. People are so unfortunate that they do not accept the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Instead, they want to be supported by so-called Mahajans or authorities. Tate chai darshan haite tattva nahijani. We cannot ascertain the real truth simply by following speculators. We have to follow the footsteps of the Mahajans in the disciplic succession. Then our attempt will be successful. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Vani Amritera Dhar. Whatever is spoken by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is an incessant flow of nectar. Chaitanya Vani Amritera Dhara. Whatever is spoken by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is an incessant flow of nectar. What do you think? It's too good. Whoever accepts his words as reality can understand the essence of the Absolute Truth. Whoever accepts his words as reality can understand the essence of the Absolute Truth. No one can ascertain the Absolute Truth by following the philosophy of Sankhya or the yoga system of Patanjali, for neither the followers of Sankhya nor the yogis who follow Patanjali accept Lord Vishnu as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nate vidu swartagatim hi Vishnu. The ambition of such people is never fulfilled. Therefore, they are attracted by the external energy. Although mental speculators may be renowned all over the world as great authorities, actually they are not. Such leaders are themselves conservative and not at all liberal. However, if we preach this philosophy, people will consider Vaishnavas very sectarian. Srila Madhavendra Puri was a real Mahajan, but misguided people cannot distinguish the real from the unreal. But a person who is awakened to Krishna consciousness can understand the real religious path chalked out by the Lord and his pure devotees. Sri Madhavendra Puri was a real Mahajan because he understood the absolute truth properly and throughout his life behaved like a pure devotee. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu approved the method of Sri Madhavendra Puri. Therefore, although from the material viewpoint, the Sanodiya Brahmana was on a lower platform, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu considered him situated on the highest platform of spiritual realization. Srimad Bhagavatam 6.3.20 states that there are 12 Mahajans, Brahma, Narada, Shambhu, the four Kumaras, Kapila, Manu, Prahlad, Janak, Bhishma, Bali, Shukadev, and Yamaraj. To select our Mahajans in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, we have to follow in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his representatives. His next representative is Sri Swarup Damodar Goswami, and the next representatives are the 6 Goswamis, Sri Rupa Sri Sanatan, Bhatta Raghunath, Sri Jeev Gopal Bhatt, and Das Raghunath. A follower of Vishnu Swami's was Sridhar Swami, the most well-known commentator on Srimad Bhagavatam. He was also Mahajan. Similarly, Chandidas, Vidyapati, and Jayadev were all Mahajans. One who tries to imitate the Mahajans just to become an imitative spiritual master is certainly far away from following in the footsteps of the Mahajans. Sometimes people cannot actually understand how a Mahajan follows other Mahajans. In this way, people commit offenses and fall from devotional service. Thank you for listening. What'd you think? No, any particulars? I like those long lists of what a Mahajan isn't. Sound like a Bob Dylan song or something. Yes, somebody had their hand up there. That was Namachintamani.
This purport reminded me of the verse Mahatmanas Tumam Partha, and how Prabhupada gives in the purport, he talks about how these days anyone can be given the name of Mahatma, and I think he's referring to Mahatma Gandhi, but it's not written in the purport. But this purport just reminded me of that. It seemed like it was along the same lines.
Very much so. Nice citation. Thank you very much, Namachintamani. Let's see if anybody will take one more comment. Go ahead. We have Mathura Kripa.
I like how Prabhupada in his purport gives the definition of a Mahatma for each category of people, for the impersonalists, for the yogis, for different groups of people. So according to their modes of nature and according to their conditioning, they will see someone as a great personality. I thought that was quite interesting. And also later on, there's a sentence that struck me, if I can read it.
Oh, yeah.
Self-deceived persons sometimes accept leaders or spiritual masters from a priestly order that has been officially appointed by the codes of material life. That struck me because it's saying that those spiritual masters are appointed by codes of material life, by material nature itself, actually. So it's not something at all spiritual, but it's just based on the material energy.
No. Thank you. Nice observations. So now we're going to take a little break. We'll be back here at 12 minutes after the hour. See you then. Hare Krishna.